A tall Christmas tree in a post-Christian world. Among the periodic rituals in New York around this time of the time is for the whole family to make and spin to see the Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center. The only issue is that getting anywhere near the iconic tree is a Herculean task. From the time that it's ritually lit in early December, this time it was on Wednesday, December 1st, to Christmas Day, the point of the tree is swamped with native New Yorkers and excursionists likewise, making it delicate if not insolvable to get close to the tree itself. The locals soon discover that excursionists find their way to the tree using their Google Charts app and therefore nearly always enter the point from Fifth Avenue, and as a result that entrance is prohibitively crowded. So, those locals who know the area better go through side and conterminous thoroughfares to get an indeed better angle on the noble tree, and take their periodic picture with their family and musketeers in front of it to shoot to those who are far down. What's this crazy ritual? Aren't all rituals crazy and yet magical? And no bone is in charge of legislating what the tree means. What exactly are those meanings? Come Christianized, or has the Christmas tree itself assumed a whole different set of meanings? Solid as it stands with all its spangling light bulbs, the tree has come a floating signifier. The tree reminds me, one among billions of non-Christians, of my late mama, a devout Shia Muslim, going to the tomb of the Shia Saint Ali ibn Mahdi Aravazi in our birthplace. At the tomb's yard, there was a magnific tree on which original worshippers hung their dikal. A dikal is a piece of cloth people hang on tree branches to wish for a dream to come true, a suitable boy for their son, a faithful bridegroom for their son, success in their partner's business, cure for the illness of a relative, gestation for a youthful kinsman. The light bulbs and Christmas decoration particulars on the Rockefeller Center tree always remind me of those dikals. We all look at the same tree, but see different effects. Post-secular or post-Christian? The origin of this current tree at the epicenter of Christmas vacation fests is presumably Roman Saturnalia, or an indeed aged idolater tradition, which was ultimately Christianized in Europe. German emigrants are believed to have introduced the emblematic item to the U.S., before ascetic Christians were vehemently opposed to the idea. For indigenous Christians, the tree was a relic of their old motherlands they seeded in their espoused country. The tree ultimately came coterminous with the figure of Christ himself. People continue to see in that tree aspects of their own honorary lives, spots of their own foregone or foreclosed pieties. These symbols that firstly began as entirely pre-Christian idolater icons have now in fact come a post-Christian iconography of communal rituals, an aspect of what the prominent American sociologist Robert Balla called civil religion. Millions of New Yorkers and excursionists visit this tree without any particular attention or care to its Christian symbolism and cotillion on the ice rink around it, as if they're sharing in a pagan ritual entirely outside the horizon of any institutional religious symbolism. How we read the Christmas tree moment cannot be separated from the fate of Christianity itself in both the temporal or post-secular world. In his brilliant pensive textbook, After Christianity, 2002, prestigious Italian champion Gianni Vattimo argues how through the substantially post-Christian doctrines of Friedrich Nietzsche and Martin Heidegger, he, in fact, has rediscovered his Christianity for a new renaissance. But is that a Christianity for a so-called post-secular age, or is it a temporal gospel for a post-Christian world? Vattimo seems to suppose that secularization is itself a chicane for the fulfillment of Christianity. But that supposition itself is a bit too Christian eschatological to Jewish or Muslim cognizance, where the veritably idea of denomination is an entirely alien proposition. Altitudinous trees east and west. Still, entirely independent of any particular religion laying any total claim on them, trees have the magic, if we abandon the anxieties of both Christianity and its temporal guises. Take the Abarku cypress in Iran, so called because it's located in Abarku in the Yazd fiefdom of Iran. The cypress is believed to be 2 times old, the alternate oldest tree after the Methuselah tree in California. The legend has it that Zoroaster had planted it, and the tree is as a result occasionally appertained to as the Zoroastrian cypress. There's a vague melodramatic allusion to this legend in the beautiful Ombre My Fou, also known as Largo from Xerxes, the opening aria from George Friedrich Handel's pieces Circe, 1738, where the potent Xerxes I sings to his favorite tree. No way was a shade of any factory dearer and further lovely, or further sweet, tender and beautiful fronds, of my cherished aeroplane tree. Let fate smile upon you. May thunder, lightning, and storms no way disturb your dear peace. Nor may you by blowing winds be profaned. Long ahead and long after Handel's pieces, in classical Persian poetry, the cypress tree, sarv, has been a harmonious conceit of the graceful cherished. The origin of similar allusions is entirely pre-Islamic for, in Zoroastrian sacred textbooks that ultimately made it to Persian grand poetry, a slice of the sacred cypress was believed to have been brought from paradise by Zoroaster to King Gushtesp to celebrate his conversion to Zoroastrianism. But in the vast and variegated diapason of the Persian lyrical wordbook, cypress assumed a tropical power of its own, small either to Islam or to Zoroastrianism. The tree had begun to transmute its own metonymic symbolism towards anarcho-liberation theology. In the face of the climate disasters humanity at large is presently facing, trees, cypress or else, have assumed a whole different significance. The environmental horrors of deforestation and desertification have hovered the veritably possibility of life on the earth. Then any being or presumed religious significance that Zoroastrian, Jewish, Christian or Islamic traditions might celebrate around these trees must all yield to the inviting ecological vitality of all living organisms. Precisely for that reason, trees have now assumed ecological, aesthetic and lyrical significance far beyond any religious symbolism they may still bring. Two famed contemporary Iranian artists, Sohrab Sepehri and Abbas Kiarostami, a minstrel and a filmmaker, were overwhelmed with their seductiveness with trees. The roots of all of similar seductiveness might be traced back to a passage in the lyric Masnavi, where Rumi celebrates the tipular disposition of the entire macrocosm and eventually turns to trees as they rest in downtime and tells his compendiums, "You might suppose in downtime these trees are all firm and sober," but he assures the world,